Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another Christmas movie review. And today we'll be covering National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, starring Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, and also starring Randy Quaid. Man, I watch this like almost every year. This is like, honestly, like when the movie came out in 1989, December 1st of 1989. Uh, it got mixed to positive reviews, but over time it became like one of the biggest Christmas classics to date. Now, National Lampoon, in case you don't know, was it's like Mad Comics or like Mad Magazine, where it was like a satire kind of magazine that ran from the 1970s up until 1998. Now, the company itself still is around, making other, stuff like from the National Lampoon marketplace for movies and stuff like that, but just not magazines anymore. Like I said, like it's kind of like in the same boat as like Mad, whereas like, well, slightly different. Mad, I think, still make magazines, but I don't think anybody buys those things, wholeheartedly like that. But it's just pretty much satire on like mainstream, and always pushes the boundaries of like societal norms and stuff like that. And honestly, if like people, like at least so-called woke people, see things like this or like watches like in living color, they'll lose their freaking minds, because it's like a good comedian who can tell an intelligent joke, which like if you and I would probably say will end up being like either insulting or racist or misogynist or whatever. But a good comedian who honed his craft and actually spent time, researching and like going over and over and over personally at home before they, fine tune this joke before they tell it out to the world. That's what they pretty much do, where it's like it makes it hilarious and okay to laugh at. And like now the National Lampoon vacation films, the first one, like a lot of people remember, it's just like National Lampoon's what was the European Vacation, I think. Hold on, because I think Christmas was the third film, because I think they made four. They tried to do like a rebooted one with Ed Helms, which I saw once, and it was not. It was stupid, but not fun. Stupid, Uh, 1 second here. Yeah, National Lampoon's Vacation, made in 1983. Then European Vacation in 1985. Then you get Christmas Vacation, 89. Then Vegas Vacation, 1987. And of course, then years later, he reprised. In 2015, he reprised his role. You know, you know, Chevy Chase and D'Angelo reprised their roles as the Griswolds, with their son Rusty, an adult now, and have his own family. It didn't turn out so well, but it's like a running kind of joke in a way, where it's like the kids, the kids who play the Griswold's children always get swapped out in each of these films. Even the 2015 one, Well, obviously the 2015 one that makes sense because it's supposed to be an adult Rusty, but like it's one of those times when it's like people try to make certain characters, mega leads in their own films, and it just does not. Some people, it just doesn't work well. Like Ed Helms, Justin Long, uh, Michael Cera. Well, maybe a little bit more Michael Cera. He was pretty good in like the uh, Scott Pilgrim movie, but it's just like there's certain guys that's like just made for supporting, and you're trying to force uh and a guy from Trainwreck, the main lead in the movie Trainwreck, that's another one who's just like, I mean, in my opinion, they're not like leading man material. It's not like they need to be hunky or anything like that, like Bradley Cooper or anything like that. But just it's something about them they just lack to, at least in my opinion, that will serve as a leading role. And it's like it seems forced. Like they're trying to, like, Hollywood's trying to force them to get us to like them and make them leading man roles. Because since then, Ed hasn't like led like a movie his own. Similar, same thing with guy from Trainwreck. I want to say James Spader. That's not his name. Bill Hader. No wonder, because like I'm thinking James Spader rhymes with Hader. They trying to make James Spader Bill Hader. Jesus, Bill. They're trying to make Bill Hader like a leading man kind of, not like make him, but it's kind of like it's like he's not like they shouldn't be typecast, but at the same time they feel like it was forced trying to make us think of him as leading man, and it's like it just didn't feel natural in my opinion. But anyway, Christmas Vacation. Clark Griswold, played by Chevy Chase, goes out in the middle of the wilderness to cut down with his family to cut down this Christmas tree, trying to find like the perfect Christmas tree, because this year he wants to have an old-fashioned big family Christmas with his in-laws and his own parents and his like uncle and aunt, all coming together to celebrate Christmas at their house. And he's had this, like, because if you watch the National Lampoon's films, if you know Clark Griswold, he always try to go big with when he does these vacation trips, or like as like the wife mentions in the film, like you set expectations that no family can live up to. And it's like, when have I done that? Well, graduations, funerals, weddings, vacations, holidays, birthdays. It's like, yeah, that's him. And this is the third film in installment. So it's like, of course, they, play into that. Like, he set expectations so high, and it's always going to crash and burn because he doesn't, keep it to like a minimum. Like, short and sweet, or like less is more kind of factor. But it leads to comedic moments. So he goes out in the middle of nowhere with his family, while his daughter's freezing, to death. Her eyes is like, frozen open at this point, or frozen shut. And they see this big, perfect tree. It looked like a freaking redwood tree. And it's like trying to like, you expect like to bring this sucker in to their home. Despite how big the home is, it's not big enough to hold like this. Well, it turns out it is, but he had to trim it a bit. But he forgot, this fool forgot the tools he needs to cut down a tree. So they had to somehow uproot the entire thing and drag it home, and then cut off the end portion at home. So all the while he's preparing, for like the family to come in for the for to spend time with them for Christmas, he's at work, and he's telling his work friend about the down payment he put on his pool he wants set up for his family next summer, but he expects to cover it once he get the yearly bonus that they usually get. But as the movie goes on, days goes by, and it's like he have not gotten that that check in the mail yet, and it's kind of freaking him out because he'll end up putting his he'll be in financial like trouble if he cannot make that money back, or at least make that payment. Because it's supposed to be like a surprise for the family. So all the while he's like, you get to see like Julie Louis-Dreyfus, who plays Elaine Bennis in Seinfeld. If you ever watched Seinfeld growing up in the 90s, a great sitcom. I love that sitcom growing up, because my father had like a series of VHS tapes recording a lot of the episodes of Seinfeld back in the day. And like, so I watched like a good chunk of Seinfeld, but it's also on Netflix if you want to binge watch Seinfeld. Very hilarious, very good writing. But and then Elaine Bennis, man, at least Julie Louis-Dreyfus, she's amazing, and I love her. She's funny, and like she's the best part. She honestly is the best part of that show, to be honest with you. Like just her and like Jerry Seinfeld like are neck and neck for me as far as like the best parts of that show. And it's like, if you ever hear somebody say the dingo ate your baby, that's from Elaine Bennis. Or like, or you just when she makes a certain face, like it's like it's just like, or the Google, or go on YouTube and search for Elaine dance, and just like you'll laugh your ass off. Just like she just go out in the middle of the dance floor and just does the super white girl dance you ever seen in your life. It's hilarious. But like I said, it's a great show. But anyway, her and her husband plays like the Griswold's neighbors, and it's kind of like they got like animosity towards each other, and like they're like the yuppies, that are the neighborhood yuppies, and you get this like awesome, the awesome, like one of the best one of the best interactions in the beginning of the film, where like Clark's coming out about to trim the stump off the tree, and he's coming out like full like hockey gear, just like pretty much like homaging like Texas Chainsaw mixed with Jason Voorhees kind of situation. And you hear the husband cry out like, we're gonna put that tree, we're gonna put a tree that big there, Griswold. Why don't you bend over and I'll show you? You got a lot of nerve talking to me like that. I wasn't talking to you. And they see the camera just pans over to Elaine. It's so dang funny. It was like great comedic, back and forth. It's just like it was so good. Now, just a quick note. Chevy Chase has been in like not like scandal or anything like that, but he's like toxic in Hollywood right now. Just not, and so it's like not like sexual misconduct or anything like any Weinstein level bullshit, but he's just like a well-known asshole apparently throughout Hollywood since the time he left, or at least just got banned from SNL, because he started off in SNL, but because of his attitude, he just like, I think he's like the first, I can't remember if he's like the first or only one to ever get banned from. No, I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple more, but he's the more well-known person to ever got banned from SNL, possibly the first. Just like his attitude and everything like that, which I didn't find out until like, later in life, where it's like, I watched a lot of Chevy Chase films growing up, like the Fletch movies, the Memoirs of the Invisible Man, the Vacation movies, Caddyshack, and the Three Amigos. I mean, it's like, it was just like wild to me. It's like, you never know what people are like, in their personal lives. But all I knew is just like one like the funniest people like I seen on TV growing up, which is a shame. It's like, you gotta learn how to treat people. I don't even know if it's even like a celebrity got to his head. He's just like, I don't know, just have asshole tendencies, which is a shame. It's like you would hate to have someone like that, someone like an iconic comedian and actor with like I believe a star on a Walk of Fame, no less, will have all that tarnished because of just being a complete jerk to people. Anyway, the family starting, at least, the in-laws starting to be the first to show up. One of them played by Doris Roberts or Doris something, like, because he passed away a few years ago during that year when like every celebrity feel like they was passing away. Excuse me. Doris Roberts. I did get that right. Doris Roberts. And she's like the sweetest, lady in the world, man. It's a shame because it's like, just like Betty White, who just recently turned 100. My God, she will outlive us all. She's just like the sweetest woman. It's like everybody's grandmother. And she was hilarious too. But and the in-laws was so, like bicker and rowdy. And this is like a huge commentary on everybody's family, because when you watch Christmas Vacation, you feel Clark's pain when he's just annoyed, or when like certain family members just, like Cousin Eddie. When you see Cousin Eddie, you'll know what I'm talking about. But just like we having like a bunch of people over your house, family members over your house, and like for the most part it's fun, but it's like it's also like hectic. So it's like, you get it. This is the holidays and it's time to spend, it's the perfect time to spend with family and everything like that. But more often than not, family gets on your nerves. And it's like, it's like a few minutes in, one of them, one of the mothers talking about like, I think it was Doris Roberts' character who was talking about how like she has hemorrhoids. She's like the mother to Clark's wife, and the other mother was talking to Clark about like some kind of goiter or something on her neck. Well, it's nothing on her freaking neck, but she thinks it's something on her neck, and she kept touching it. And it's like, he's talking about, you see how red it's getting? Well, you keep touching it, it's getting redder. And then like she goes over to like Rusty, and it's like, classic grandmother, like, if you rub my feet, I'll give you a whole quarter. Wow, a quarter. And Rusty said, like, it's very sarcastic, like, wow, a quarter. It's like, I'll give Audrey a quarter too. It was like, grandparents at the time thinking like, because when they were younger, like quarters meant something. Which I don't understand why they don't have the concept of inflation, but whatever. But so like as soon as they all settle in, like Clark is like, after the dads are arguing over where to park their cars, and like and Clark's like, I'll park the cars, and he's like I'm gonna go out and deal with the cars. I'll probably be back after the season. And it's like, it's just like already it's like the annoyance starting to set in. But then like he spent like a couple of nights trying to set up the lights around the house. He has a big house, Now, what's up? Like this movie and in my Home Alone review, which you definitely should check out, on youtube.com/talkative Carl. Links are in the description. But uh, the father in that movie and Clark Griswold, well, there's a slight difference. But what I'm about to mention is like, how much do they earn to warrant big ass houses like this? But at the very least, we see like Clark worked in some kind of business, like maybe like ad agency or something like that. At least it shows he doing something that warrants like him obviously earn a lot of money. But we don't know what Kevin McCall's dad does for a living to warrant like a big ass house like that. So it's just like it was wild during like the 80s and 90s where you see like movies like this and people living like practically mansions, and it's like I don't even know if they earn that much to warrant. Hopefully somebody do like a YouTube channel, or probably have done, to like answer that kind of question. Like, like Clark Griswold, if like a typical ad exec of the 80s, how much, given the fact like, okay, how much ad execs during the 80s would have earned, and like a house that big, how much would it have cost, with mortgage rise at that time, and does it match up? Would that make sense realistically to warrant, like a house that big for a family of 4? Because it's just Audrey, Rusty, Ellen, and Clark. There's only 4 of them. They don't even have pets. So it's wild to me. But anyway, then once doing this whole shenanigans trying to get the lights to come on, because he mistakenly hooked up the Christmas lights towards the garage door, system, and every time like somebody fooled around with the switchboard there to like deal with the garage, the lights come on, but when they shut the door down, the lights go off. It's all like a jumbled mess. Once it finally corrects, the lights will go up. The family seeing this, they're in awe. Then all of a sudden you see Cousin Eddie showing up, played by Randy Quaid, which honestly, Randy Quaid has only been like well, he's been most of the vacation films, but in the 80s, but yeah, because I know he was in Vegas Vacation and Christmas Vacation, but he also was in Independence Day, and like during those, I'm pretty sure he's been in other stuff. I just can't recall right now, but it's a shame because he definitely he had to skip the country into Canada for like some kind of some level of financial fraud or something. So he's been in like Canada for years. He never set foot back into the U.S. because as soon as he does, he'll be arrested immediately. But I don't know why there's no extradition. But I guess the crime, as serious as it might be to some people, not as serious to like warrant. It's not like he's a serial killer or anything like that has to be extradited back to like his home country or anything like that. But it's just like it's wild. Like some people back in like the 80s and 90s are just like not all of them like turn out like stellar. You know what I mean? But anyway, Cousin Eddie's like that kind of black sheep of the family that gets on Clark's nerves. It's a shame because like he plays it so innocently. He's like like not like super dumb, like just over the top dumb, like being too dumb. But he's just like he's innocent dumb. He's just like he's a man child, but he's like he cares for his family. He does right by his family with everything like that. But it's just like he try to take things a little bit too literal, or he's just like it's just like the fun kind of stupid. And they rolled in on an RV, and like it was a funny, interaction with them, uh, with him and his wife and his children and the dog Snots. Uh, like, you surprised, Clark? Surprised, Eddie? If I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be as surprised as I am right now. And I was like, I mean, like the comedic timing of Chevy Chase, you cannot deny it. It's like on a whole nother level. And so it's, they hauled in, and it's like, they joined in on the festivities. It was like a moment when Clark and Eddie talked, and he's like, talking about like the older children didn't come around because like his son is like works at like a carnival, and he started out guessing people's weight, and then now he's moved up to barking for the yak woman or something like that. And it's like, it's just like a wild, as just that country wild family. It's like, I don't want to paint a broad stroke on country people, but it's like, I'm pretty sure there's a fair bit of families who have that those minute members that's like lives out in the country or lives in the projects or ghetto or whatever like that, and they come by and they just kind of like just wilding out kind of situation, whether it's like their good nature or whatever. But it's just like a funny thing. Or you got like a member of family who's like probably been in and out of prison, or like it's like a local thug or whatever. But it's kind of like, not like just completely, just devoid of kind of feelings or goodwill or anything like that. Like, you can't, not to a level you can't bring them around the family or they're endangering the children or anything like that. It's just like, those kind of people that like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like it's kind of embarrassing members of the family. So like I said, the days goes on, and Clark is like still like wondering like, where's that doggone check? There's this funny moment where it's like he's at the department store, doing some shopping for his wife, and like he bumps into this clerk, this beautiful woman named Mary, and like in all these vacation movies, he always runs into some hot chick that's flirting with him, and he's just flirting back, and he's like, it's like undercover hints that he wants to commit adultery when he sees like these hot women, but it's like he doesn't end up doing it. But it's like just the sheer the hilarity in the flirtatiousness is amazing, and he's clearly hung up on his woman for a minute, because while at one night he's envisioning the family playing in the soon to be pool in the backyard, he envisions first cousin Eddie just being like just a wild, just gross goofball. Then then his imagination started really running wild and thinking about this hot chick, and like this straight up like Baywatch like little bikini onesie thing, and like it's like out of frame, you take it off and tosses it at like the window, and clearly he's imagining it, but he's just fantasizing about that woman. It's just funny when that happens in each of these films. But then Eddie's children go to, like, at least Ruby Sue, the daughter, goes to Clark, and the son goes to Rusty, who tells his mom about like they don't believe like Santa Claus will deliver to their house because they're constantly on the move, and like despite them being good, they're not getting any. They never got any presents last year, and they don't think they'll get any this year. And then that's that's when they found out that, like, he hasn't, the dad hasn't been, has been out of work for so long because he's looking out for a managerial position, which, is good on Beverly, who gives this little look like it's like very sly smile that was just like that got me. That gets me every time I see it. But then, like, Clark offers Eddie that he'll help with getting his children some presents so that way they don't feel left out this Christmas. And then when they're going to, well, I want to bring up about the sledding thing because there's a sledding scene that's very funny, where it's like he put this some kind of spray. I guess it's like I don't know, it's a company like did it or whatever, but it's like he put on a spray on the bottom of his metal sled that's supposed to make it a little more slicker and increase the speed of the of him sliding down the snowbank. And you see that he probably put too much on, and he just a cartoonistly way of just doing it. It just propels him like a rocket down the slopes, and he's crashing into a bunch of pillars of snow and everything like that, and into a dumpster near a Walmart, which I didn't think Walmart existed back in the 80s. Well, apparently they did. Or at least they started in the 80s. But it was like a hilarious thing. It's just like one of those comedic things that, Clark just overestimates certain things. But then you like, the, senile aunt and then grumpy uncle shows up. But then this the comedic effect from them is like, brilliant, where it's like they're old, they started wrapping up, they don't have a lot of money, so they wrap up stuff around their house, and they wrapped up a Jello mold, and they wrapped up their own cat, and they brought it all. I don't know if they flew there or just drove from their home. They might live in the same state as them, but they drove all the way with a boxed up cat with doesn't look like it has any air holes in it. Luckily that things alive, but it was like it's just like they wrapped up their damn cat, and now they got a cat and a dog running around the house, which caused another slapstick comedy. Then eventually, soon there was like an electrical fire that it ended up killing the cat. Then like the uncle, because I think like the I don't know, the tree sap is flammable, or just maybe the electricity that's being used, the wiring that's being used to light the lights on the Christmas tree, kind of like sparked something and kind of set the tree ablaze, which kind of unknowingly by the uncle, his butt was on fire that Clark had to put out. So that was a whole thing. Then there was a whole squirrel inside the tree this whole doggone time that never came out until this day before Christmas, and then started like running around the house with the dog chasing that thing all over the place. Then because of the ensuing noise, the yuppies come over. Well, at least the Julie Louis-Dreyfus character comes over because her husband ain't man enough to go do it himself. She comes to the door. The door opens, trying to lay out the squirrel but the dog's giving chase, and then the squirrel jumps on Elaine Bennis, and she's like freaking out, and it's like she comes home and like her clothes are ripped up, and like the husband like, what happened? And just decks him. It's Hilarious. I love that moment. Uh, uh, then you get the finally the company messenger finally brings over the letter that Clark was expecting, but it's supposed to have been arriving like a day before, but it fell between his little like chair seats or something like that. But it turns out it's supposed to be like a membership to some Jelly of the Month club instead of the Christmas bonus that they're supposed to be expecting that year, like every year, which sends Clark off on a tirade, which unintentionally, just out of anger, just blurting out that he wished, his boss was standing right here with a big bow on his head so he can insult him to his face. So, Eddie, I mean, this happens, prior to the whole squirrel incident. So kind of like, flip flop the scenes. But Cousin Eddie took that to be literally because he wanted to pay Clark back in some way for like going out of his way to make sure his children are getting like a happy Christmas. So he goes all the way up to Clark's boss's place, kidnaps him, and brings him back to the house. But I just want to mention this rant by Chevy Chase was like almost like an impressive rant that I seen in a film where he just goes off. And you can look it up because me describing it doesn't do it justice. You can easily look it up, like Clark Griswold or Christmas Vacation rants or something like that, and like you it's a very comedic timing where you just like you just finally like just goes off. Everything has just been going wrong, it's one thing after another, and now the one thing I was been looking forward to for weeks finally arrives, and he reneged on the bonus. And once Kazan finally brings the guy over, Clark tells him to his face, it's like, if you didn't want to give out any Christmas bonuses, that's one thing. You just tell us, ahead of time, so we won't be sitting there making financial decisions or whatever, for nothing. But if you, don't say anything on, and we're actually expecting them, and then, and this happens, that's, as Rusty says out loud, that sucks. And then, like, he comes to, the boss, looking upon Clark's family and, like, kind of realization that, what he did was kind of crummy. So he'll reinstate the bonuses, but for Clark, personally, he wants to compensate for Clark's, situation by, putting in, like, matching last year's bonus by 20% increase. Then SWAT team will rise with the police, and Clark's boss, his wife, comes in after calling the police for her husband being kidnapped. But the boss, tells everybody to stand down because this is like a misunderstanding. When he explained what he did, not only the wife but the police chief thought, hey, man, that was some fucked up thing to do. But he sets everybody's minds at ease and lets them know that, like, I changed my mind. I'm reinstating the bonuses. And then you get a funny moment when, like, because early in the middle of the film, because the RV has to be, drained, at least the toilet in the RV has to be drained, you put all that, sewage stuff into the, sewage drain. And, like, it is dangerous. I mean, like, if somebody light a match, there could be an explosion, which happens where the uncle try to light his cigar near that thing, and he puts, you try to push out his cigar and light up, and it causes, kind of, massive, like, what was it, thing that kind of fell, flew into the sky. it's like a set and sleigh decoration that flew in the sky, which Ruby Sue believes it to be Santa Claus. Then, you know, the aunt starts, because he's so senile, she thinks it's fireworks, so she starts singing the Star Spangled Banner, and nobody has the heart to even correct her. So these all the family and the police all join in of putting their hands on their chest and singing the Star Spangled Banner. And the movie ends, but it's a solid movie. There are a few drawbacks, in this film. Uh, some jokes, don't land as well. Very few. I mean, at least some people might not believe some of these jokes will land well for them. I can see some people thinking like, Cousin Eddie's feel like they might feel like he's far too stupid to be like that funny. Yeah, I mean, like, certain decisions, like, if he feels like the letter is taking too long, he could have easily gone to the boss before he headed out for the vacation, on the Christmas vacation in the first place, so he can easily avoid all this kind of stuff. But you know, it's still like an alright movie. It's one of the classics for a reason. It's just like a good feel good family film. It's like, I remember people renting this a lot during the holidays at Blockbuster. That's how old I am. I remember Blockbuster. And this was like a solid film. It's like the hilariousness and it's just overall fun. But if you've seen Christmas Vacation before, let me know what you thought about the film. Do you still revere it as one of the classics? Did it feel, did over time it kind of like lose its luster for you, or just tell me how you feel in general in the comments. And that is another review done. I got at least I'll do 2 more tomorrow, and another 2 I final 2. So I got like I think 4 more to do. 2 tomorrow, and do final 2 on Christmas Eve, to wrap up my months for the holiday Christmas reviews. So take care, be safe, happy holidays.